Well, hello. Welcome to Spindle City Straight Talk. I'm Chip.
And I'm CJ.
It is Friday in the Riv, and I know all you're debating. We had Collin on today, but Collin got tied up in it, unfortunately, at an appointment he had. He's contacted us and said that he will be on as soon as he can. So he will be on the show down the road. But we could start by saying, I just found this out a few minutes ago. I got a call from one of our regular contributors that we made national news again. The Riv makes it again. I guess on that, I don't watch that show, the 5 on Fox.
Yeah.
Because they always have some idiot Democrat up there making no sense at all, and they argue with them a little bit, and they crush them. But I still don't like it. But Judge Janine Pero, I guess, ran the story about the idiot criminal in the chimney on Fall River.
Yes.
It's like we never make the news for anything good. It's like,
did she add the video? The police video?
I didn't see the show, but I guess maybe she did. They did talk about the news, the news report, right? An idiot, in Fall, and she made sure she said Fall River, Massachusetts. So we got Lizzie Borden, an axe murderer, and we got the guy stuck
and
in
Robert Langways.
Oh my God, it's unbelievable. But did you notice? Since we're waiting for Collin, everybody was screaming all these liberal. Of course, Massachusetts will probably never do it because we have Healy and Wu, those yo-yos. But they can all talk the talk, but they're all starting to cave. I mean, I don't think Newsom will cave. California and Massachusetts, 2 governors already who are already profiling, saying, I'm going to fight this. They're not going to blah, blah, blah. They've already contacted Pritzker, the Michelin man from Illinois. He has said that he is going to cooperate with the president to get rid of criminal illegal aliens. So, yeah, it was a great strategic move by Trump to basically frame that and say, look, this is a public safety issue. We're getting rid of these people who are criminals. That's the first batch to go. And Gretchen Whitmer, I almost fell out of my chair when I heard this one, but Whitmer has already said that. I mean, what kind of position did he put him in? Great strategy. It's like, well, you want to keep rapists and murderers in your city? Good. Let the people in your city get raped and murdered, and then they can blame it on you because I was going to get rid of them. So I thought that was pretty good. I mean, it was really fun, especially with those 2, Whitmer and Pritzker, because they're both in the conversation for 28 as presidential candidates.
Well, it's going to be interesting to see. I mean, what I would like to see is the Trump administration to turn around and tell any state that opposes his actions to clean out the country of criminal illegals to lose their money for public safety.
You're right. And one governor has already done that. Youngkin, the Republican governor in Virginia, I just watched him I taped last night's some of the shows last night. He's already told every mayor and every city and town in Virginia that if you do not comply and you attempt to give sanctuary to illegals, he's cutting all your funding, all of it. You get no state aid. So,
You hear that out of Maura Healey's mouth.
yeah, and speaking about how people are reacting, unlike the useless wokies who did not seek the death penalty, that woke Democratic Cyrus DA who did not seek the death penalty for the murderer of Laken Riley. I saw that last night too, that the DA that is prosecuting the murderers of Jocelyn Ningeri is going for the death penalty. She is asking for the death penalty. So I would prefer the torture to death penalty, but unfortunately they don't. But she is asking for the death penalty.
Good. I believe that the death penalty should be offered for specific crimes.
Look,
I don't think that it's right. I mean, in Massachusetts, we voted for it and they overturned it.
That's right.
Just like we voted for term limits and they overturned it.
Our buddy Dukakis. But listen, that was a heinous crime. I mean, they terrorized that poor child and choked her and there were a few of them. There were two of them, but I mean, these crimes are heinous. These people don't deserve to walk the earth. And they say, well, let them suffer for a life imprisonment. No, let us subsidize them, give them 3 hots and a cot for the next 40 years. That's it. I believe in Hammurabi's code. You get what you gave. You kill somebody, they kill you. And the Old Testament to me is better. An eye for an eye.
Well, I'm going to change the subject here because I just received the city council agenda for next Tuesday. And a priority matter from the mayor. Mayor and a request to establish an ordinance creating the position of Deputy Chief of Emergency Medical Services. Another job.
Which one of his friends is he giving a job?
That's what I was going to ask.
Which one of his pals that's going to work on his campaign is he going to give this job to?
I agree.
I mean, listen, there you just touched on a place that Paulie has just destroyed the finances of this city. I actually do know a little bit about the EMS because I was there when it first became part of the fire department. It no longer is. But Paulie separated it so he can do stuff like this. Now, in the old days, you had an ambulance, and I wrote on it. I was one of the first. I was EMT certified at the time. I was one of the few people that was, and we used to get stuck on air if one of them called in sick. And obviously they do a good job, but I mean, talk about bloat, fat, and bureaucracy. Let's get another deputy chief, give him a brand new Dodge Charger or some other brand new vehicle. Now you look at a medical call. Before we had an ambulance that was going to take care of the call. If we needed help to carry somebody or we would call for a piece of fire apparatus. Police were normally there because it was an emergency call. And in 99% of the cases, you had enough. If you needed more help, you called it. Now you look at an EMS call, you got like 5 or 6 vehicles there. You got supervisors down there. You got everybody down there. They all got brand new cars, pickup trucks, all kinds of vehicles. We must have spent... I'd like to see an audit of how much money they've spent on that department since they separated it, because they have spent literally hundreds of thousands of dollars just in vehicles. And I mean, they're not driving little,
But here's the justification. Here's the justification.
Oh.
EMS is an enterprise account. The money they spend is the money they earn. Therefore, it's not costing the taxpayer a dime. That's
but yes, it is. It's costing us indirectly. I don't care if they say they earn the money. That doesn't give him a right to just piss away money, because that shows the attitude he has. Because the reality is, why couldn't we take the money that they earned and actually invest it in other areas of the city that need investment in? It's a profit-making business. Let's use the profits not just to give his friends jobs, but to help the people of Fall River. I'm not saying don't give them good equipment, don't pay them, but you don't need 5 vehicles at a site. They're just over there to occupy their time, because they'll go batshit crazy sitting in the office doing nothing. That's what they're doing.
I know.
You've got all kinds. You can't get by. It's crazy. And now another deputy. Well, shit. Let's get another superintendent. Emergency. Yeah. This is a big emergency. We've had EMS for. Let me see how long we've had EMS. I can't even make a guess, but I can give you a ballpark. I'm going to tell you what. When I rode the ambulance. When I worked on the ambulance, I was a firefighter. They couldn't put me back on the ambulance once I made lieutenant. I made lieutenant in 1975. So EMS was there prior to 1975. They didn't have deputies, captains, or anybody. They had a couple of people up at headquarters doing the billing and being the quote-unquote supervisors. You had a supervisor and an assistant super. You had Robillard, and you had the other guy, I forgot his name, up in the office, and you had some billing people, and then you had the people on the ambulances doing the job. Now, we got an entire city. They got a village doing this work now. It's like, and you know something? I hate to say it, and you know this as a medical professional. A heart attack was a heart attack in 1975. It's still the same today. How many people do you need at an incident? How many people can give CPR? How many people do you need? Providence only has. I think they have 3 people on their ambulances, on some of them, or most of them. But they have an officer, because it's part of the fire department. But the next time you see an incident, look, you've seen it, I've seen them. They got pickup trucks, you got Dodge Chargers, you got an ambulance, it's like, how many supervisors do you need? As many as Paul can hire. That's the answer. I answered my own question. As many as Paul can hire, because he's running again. So he's starting to give more jobs away.
What better way to do it? What better way to do it? Just bring your friends in, line them up at the door. That's why I say I'm sending a letter to the state auditor asking her to come down to Fall River and audit the books of the city and the books of the school department. And I want them to make public all the people that did illegal activities like being a mechanic and earning money on the city dime and then getting a promotion for it. I want those things to be made public. I want the Coogan administration to look so corrupt that the people of Fall River are finally going to say, forget it, it's done. And personally, what I would like to see happen is that they take away his pension for the corruption. Well, although that never happens in Fall River.
Well, they could actually, because if he used his office to do it. That's one of the criteria in the retirement law. Paul River.
That's it, Paul River.
Paul River. Remember that. I like it, David. We still remember that. And but look this is what Democrats do. Look what Biden's doing. Biden just put I think he said he pardoned 1,500 or 15,000. He commuted their sentences, criminals. He's letting them out on the streets. They've sent a directive to all the departments to spend all the money they have, whether they need to or not, just to make it more difficult on the incoming president.
Right.
This is what Democrats do. They love to spend money, and then they leave because they're all rich. Paul's going to be a millionaire. He gets a 4th term, he will be a millionaire. If he put it in a bank, even at 0.5% interest, think about it. 120 grand a year. He's got a nice fat pension. He can put the whole thing in a bank, even in a low yield account. So 120 grand every 2 years, that's nearly a quarter, that's nearly $250,000. It's 240 rather than 250. 4 terms makes it $1 million. We're just short of $1 million. This guy is making $1 million for blowing your money and giving everybody he knows a job. Now, I think you should probably put in for an assistant to the deputy and the assistant to the assistant deputy and buy him 6 more cars, Paul. I mean, shit. When I made chief, I was driving a 15-year-old. We had a 15-year-old chief's car that was falling apart. Now, nobody has an old vehicle in the city of Florida. I don't know what car dealerships are kicking back to him. But there are some car dealerships making a lot of money, cars and trucks. Because I don't see a lot of old city vehicles anymore.
No, it seems like every month we're getting a new vehicle.
Yeah.
Seems like it's happening regularly.
And in the old days, not that I'm saying it was right, we should have had, and years ago, they kept saying they were going to have a regular replacement of vehicles. But how many times did I have to go to the council and scream about having 20-year-old fire apparatuses? Chief's cars that were 15 and 20 years old. We don't expect brand new vehicles, but not every single one of them is late model and expensive, not like basic models. No, Dodge Chargers.
I know.
Dodge Chargers.
Let's get some really
They're
good
driving
cars.
around muscle cars. And it's like, I don't know if they got 440 engines in them anymore, or maybe Magnums. I don't know. But I look at the vehicles. There's some seriously expensive vehicles. I mean, what the hell? Today, a pickup truck costs, like if you get a larger pickup truck, those things are going 70, 80 grand. I mean, that's a lot of money. I mean, Paulie loves to spend money. And he's gonna walk away from this city when he's done, fat, dumb, and happy. And he'll leave this city in a financial chaos. It'll be in receivership. One more term of him, and we're toast.
I guess so.
And remember, do you remember the promise? Do you remember it when they went to the city council and they said, all this, giving them ranks, calling them chiefs when they never took an exam, calling them captains when they never took an exam. Captain of what? Captain of the syringes? Last time I checked, you're a medical professional. They don't call nurses like lieutenants, captains, and chiefs, do they?
Not unless you're in the Army.
Not unless you're in the Army. Then you're a captain automatically if you're a doctor, and you're a lieutenant automatically if you're a chief. I mean, if you're a nurse, you're an officer. You're automatically an officer. But that's only in the military. But remember when they got there and they said, we're going to bring them into the fire department. We're going to fire-based EMS. All this was because we were going to fire-based EMS. It was an effing lie. They never had any intention of putting that in a fire department, which is a more efficient and effective.
Although they said they were, and I remember them clearly saying, we plan on merging EMS with the fire department. We plan on making it one. And then as soon as they got their pay raise, boom.
They separate. He not only didn't merge it, he totally separated them.
Exactly.
This
and
guy
then gave them control of the central fire station.
What a surprise. You mean Paul, the pathological prevaricator, lied? What an amazing thing. And talk about, we get back to another thing he never does. We never know anything about anything. You notice that the federal government, a lot of our government is now complaining because they can't get any information about drones or any information fundamentally about anything from this administration. This is why Paul was on the radio a while ago saying, we're going to keep Fall River Democrat because Democrats never tell you anything, spend all your money and tell you to shut up and keep paying. And that's Paul. Paul is like a microcosm of Joe Biden.
It makes for an interesting government, that's for sure.
Yeah, but I mean, how many lies has he told? Let's start when he ran for office. I'm going to be transparent and honest. Already, he didn't live up to those two. I'm going to cut your taxes. Not once, but twice. Did he? No. All he's done is raise your taxes. Transparent? The guy's been in office for 3 terms. We never got any information about anything that happened.
No one, as a matter of fact, he's denying information to the school committee.
That's right.
And elected officials. You want it? No, you got to go through this process.
Yeah, and then you'll never get it because you know how they'll get it. You know how they'll do it.
But hey, the Herald News is still waiting for the John Perry information.
Well, it's almost, if it wasn't so tragic, it would be it would be comical if it wasn't so tragic because this guy is like, it's like the mafia is running the city. We got a bunch of criminals running the city. And do you notice that everybody was really happy at the stock exchange and Donald Trump is doing what? He said he has not forgotten about small businesses because small businesses are the economic engine of most cities, except extremely large cities. Paul's never done a damn thing to help small business in the city of Fall River. The only thing he helps is market rate housing. And he wonders why this city never gets any better because we've been saying this for years. When this city was viable, it wasn't Newton, but it was a blue-collar city with plenty of stores everywhere. Restaurant stores up Pleasant Street, up South Main Street. Everybody had a job. Mills. Trump wants to bring back small businesses and bring back manufacturing to the United States. That's what spurs an economy. Coogan's been sitting in that office. You got a slug that never had a real job in his life and doesn't care about the economy. The economy never affected his paycheck because they always got paid because he was on the public dole. So some people don't have any consideration for the other people. Well, the taxpayers of Fall River do care. And then he moved out of the city as soon as he retired until he came back to become a politician so he could be a carpetbagger. And he'll move right out again as soon as he's no longer mayor. That house will be on the market. So, I mean, I don't know. Some things just never change. Now let's make another position. A deputy of what? I don't know what the hell they're going to have look, they did. We're going to go back to the dinosaur era. Remember when they did the Coopers and Wyburn study of the city of Fall River?
Yes, I do. We've spoken about that several times on this show.
On the Carlton Viveris, they went into every department and they looked for the fat. And they said they gave where they felt there could be reductions in jobs. Like that was the first Doge, They went in, and Coopers and Wyburn studied the fire department. And they said, amazingly enough, they didn't find a lot of fat because, let's face it, the fire department is a department which is 90% everybody is assigned to suppression, fighting fires. There's not a lot of, it's not like police departments that have a lot of other units like the vice unit and stuff like that. We've got a few inspectors up in the office, and mostly everybody is assigned to fight fires in the city of Fall River. They found two positions. One was the ladder man. We had a guy that was in charge of maintaining ladders, and they said we really didn't need a full-time ladder man because now the ladders weren't wooden anymore. Wooden ladders had to be maintained. The aluminum ladders, there's virtually no maintenance. So they said that position should go, and it did. And the other one was one of the deputy chiefs, because there were two deputy chiefs. And they said one was in charge of fire prevention, one was in charge of personnel. They said there was no need to have two of them because there's really no need to have a deputy in charge of the Fire Prevention Bureau because they also had a captain and a lieutenant. They had plenty of supervision for a few people. And they were correct. But they never eliminated that position because that position, the second deputy chief, was created because somebody that was politically connected many years ago was on a deputy's list, and the other deputy wasn't going to retire. So this is what Paul does. This is what they do. A deputy chief, what do you need a deputy chief for in EMS? Well, that's because they all run to the scene to watch them work. That's not their job. Talk about over supervision. Fire department deputy chiefs don't even fight fires unless it's a multiple alarm. They'll go and help. The district chiefs are in charge of the fires. And then you get a multiple alarm, a deputy comes in. And then if it goes to a general alarm, then everybody comes in. But they mostly come down to watch the line chiefs run the fires. I mean, listen, you're not going to bullshit me about over supervision here. I don't know what the hell they can. What are they going to do when you're on a medical call? You've got paramedics there trained doing their job. You can't have 15 people working on one person. I mean, I don't know. Maybe on that one, CJ, you're the expert on this. You worked in hospitals. You were the dean of a nurse. If you got a brain surgeon operating on somebody, do you need 17 people in the operating room with them? Because realistically, all they are doing is just watching.
You have a set amount of support personnel.
Yeah.
Okay. Not administrators, not managers, support personnel in an OR. Okay. Yeah. You have the scrub nurse, you have the OR tech, you have the anesthesiologist, you have the surgeon, you have a resident, you may have a couple of residents and interns, but they're all support personnel. And that's what they're there for. They're there to support the surgeon in what he does.
Yeah.
And who do you think is the most important person in the OR?
The surgical nurse.
The anesthesiologist.
Oh, yeah, that's true. See, that's why you're a medic. That's right, because if he screws up, the guy's dead. or he wakes up in the
No,
middle
it's not
of
only
surgery.
that. There's so many different things that can go wrong that the anesthesiologist has to, because the surgeon can't reach over and start giving drugs. Okay, the anesthesiologist does it.
Yeah.
Okay, and if you have somebody who has a reaction to the anesthesia, they need detroline. Okay, which the anesthesiologist handles because that's an anesthesiology problem.
Yeah.
Very interesting to watch when you see things. Who's actually doing all the work?
Well,
Okay.
see, you would know that, but
The surgeon does the work on the item, like the appendix, the brain, whatever it may be. But the anesthesiologist is the guy at the head of the table for a reason.
yeah, and therein lies the difference between what you do, which was, a critical surgery where people can, you need all those personnel, but the reality is, what is EMS? Emergency medical. It's their job strictly to stabilize the patient and get him to a hospital so he can get professionals to do what they need to do. You do not, and when in that operating room with all that essential personnel, is there a hospital administrator in there?
No.
Is there somebody from the social welfare department of the hospital? Oh, why do you need supervisory personnel supervising these people? If you've got to supervise a qualified paramedic, he probably shouldn't be trusted on the ambulance.
Well, did you see my supervisor here?
Yeah.
Did you see my supervisor?
It's like you get all this tier and tier of administration for what? Yeah, like Bentley. You got Bentley over there supervising you. But this is the whole thing. And we see it everywhere. It's like in the school departments. Look at all the administrators. To administer what? The teachers don't have enough classroom assistants.
And they don't have a contract.
They don't have a contract. They've been inordinately quiet lately too about
I noticed that too.
Did you notice that too? Yeah, that's just as an aside, that's true. But they love to create all these jobs. But like I said, but now, I mean, I hate to say it, but they should think about what they're doing, because they should do what one of our friends did. Remember Faust? He's hiding somewhere.
Yep.
Nobody's seen him. There hasn't been a Faust sighting in a long time, but he got a nice city job and he just disappeared into the woodwork. What these guys in EMS should do is just shut up and stay in the buildings. Don't run down to the scene where people can see 5 or 6 vehicles there. They're going, don't these guys have anything to do in the office? Aren't they supposed to be administrators of some type? Supervisors? You don't need this. These people do not need supervision. They don't run 15 people with an ambulance in Providence, and they've had EMS long before Fall River. And I know some of the guys who worked on Providence EMS. I've seen them in Rhode Island hospitals bringing in people. You don't see them driving to the hospital with a trail of supervisors in cars. They got a job to do. They do a very good job. They're highly trained. They do the work. We've probably got the most over-supervised EMS system in the country. But then again, we've probably got the most over-supervised school department, because I think at one time, we still probably are. We had the highest ratio of administrators to teachers in the state.
Well, I have to interrupt you there because we have a guest.
Ah,
Hi,
Colin.
how's everyone? Hello.
Hello.
How you doing there, Colin?
I'm well. How is everyone today?
Good.
Doing
How's
well.
the dog?
Hey,
Okay.
what's this? The baby face now?
I switch from time to time. I'll be fine.
I know what that's like. I switch from time to time as well.
Is the dog okay?
Yes. Oh, the dog's fine. Dog's doing well. I apologize. The appointment went a little bit later than I expected, but here we are.
Well, okay. Let's. I sent you a few things. I don't know if you got to look at them, but
I did,
want
yes.
you to give you a little. Tell us what's going on.
Thank you. Actually, speaking of the dog, just give me 1 second just to secure my room. 1 second. I apologize.
Hey, don't worry. Mine acts as a supervisor for me.
CJ's dog was just on TV. My dog's sleeping on a couch.
Always makes for an interesting time.
My dog is a staunch Trump supporter. She's over there sleeping. You know why? Because she's an American bulldog.
All right, I should be good now. So I want to thank you both for having me on today.
Anytime, just let us know. We'll let you on anytime.
So, please, and the reason why I asked to come on is because, and you know, I don't want to take this for granted either, and just come on every time there's an issue in the school department, because I'd be coming on almost every single day. But this one's important because this one really strikes to the heart of some of our issues. So, as you may or may not know, at the last school committee meeting last Monday, we were hit with a surprise. We were hit with a surprise, quote unquote, opinion from our corporate counsel. Our superintendent went behind the scenes to get an opinion on basically her roles and responsibilities on when to respond to members of the school committee when there's an inquiry or a request for records. So, and now with the opinion that was presented, which I believe you should have a copy of. If not, I will provide that copy now. I do have a copy of my own now. So with this opinion, any individual member of the school committee cannot request documents of the superintendent. You have to go through the FOIA process, which basically means you would have to wait 10 business days and or be charged money just for doing your job as a school committee member. So if you want to do your job as a school committee member, request documents and whatnot, you have to either wait at the end of the month, once a month meetings to make a motion to request documents. And I'm pretty sure the superintendent knows how that vote's going to go for the most part. And that's why we're in this position now. Or you go through a FOIA process and wait 10 business days, which is 2 weeks, and get the possibility of being charged money for just wanting to do your job and just wanting to get all the information and the facts to either back up an inquiry or to make a well-informed vote. Other members might have different levels of standards or burdens of proof as to whether to vote for something or not. As one individual member, I go above and beyond, and I know others do as well, to request information. And now, if you watched the last special education subcommittee, our superintendent just told the chairman of the committee, if you want to request information, and this is just for a subcommittee briefing, to get information to have discussion in subcommittee, she told an individual, and I'm paraphrasing here, if you want to request information, you need to get the entire committee's vote to do so. The chairman of a subcommittee of special education, alternative education, we're trying to find out information on the Pay Center, which is being delayed from a full opening. And the chairman of the committee wanted to get more information on this. And the chairman of the subcommittee, subcommittee, was denied information. Now, as one individual member, I believe the superintendent is just, and I'm trying to be very diplomatic with my words, but it's basically putting a roadblock to information requests, putting a roadblock to working together, and something needs to be done. This is not the way we should operate in this democratic form of government and on the school committee. It's an authoritarian style of leading, and as one school committee member, I'm going to be very outspoken on this topic.
Well, my suggestion is that you, as a school committee member, send a request to the state auditor, who's got a set of balls on her like you wouldn't believe, and ask the state auditor to come down and audit the books of the school department.
CJ, I'll actually answer that right now. I did. I put in a formal request specifically for facilities and operations. However, and I was given a response, a formal response for the state, and this is from the state auditor. This isn't me, and I'll forward you that response as well. So basically, for the state auditor to look into a specific a municipality or school department like record or the books. Apparently, they have to go through the city council. City council has to approve that. They can't just do it on their own. I was told to either reach out to the inspector general, or we could go the route of trying to, get 5 votes of the city council and the mayor.
Good luck on that one.
Well, let me make another.
Maybe you should go to the inspector general. I mean, this administration is corrupt. It's corrupt as they come. They're hiding everything. And for them to be hiding everything the way they are, there's got to be something going on. There's got to be some dirty business going on.
All right, let me make an alternative suggestion. Rather than trying to make requests, I would go on the fundamentally that what they're doing is illegal. Okay. I'm looking at the opinion because you sent it to me, and this opinion is absolute bullshit. I mean, and number one, let me tell everybody that's watching that these things are only opinions. A corporation counsel is not a lawyer. He's a lawyer. He represents the mayor, not the city. He is not a judge. This isn't a ruling. But we do have a constitution in this state that says that public officials are our substitutes and agents and answerable to us at all times, and they have a fiduciary responsibility. So I'm going to, first of all, I'll read part of his thing. He says, the authority to act on behalf of the school committee must be obtained via official vote taken during a legal convened meeting. Without this authority, requests made by the school committee members can be handled as if it was made by a member of the public, which is bullshit. Okay, and I'll prove it very shortly. The school department is not required to create documents to perform any analysis at the request of a committee member. That's another absolute ridiculous interpretation of the law.
And Chip, if I may just interject, this hasn't been an issue, and the only reason it's an issue because you have certain members of the committee that request more information than others, and that's fine. I'm not. That's not an attack on my colleagues. Like there are certain levels of proof, and I respect that. But other individual members will have bigger burdens of proof. And
well, I understand that, Colin. But see, the problem is that you respect what they're doing, but I, as a taxpayer, expect the superintendent of schools to do her job, and when she's asked for things pursuant to how my tax dollars are handled.
No, I 100% agree with you.
I don't want to hear this from these people. And now pursuant to Section 4, subsection 7 of the charter, the school committee is never authorized to give orders or directions to any employee. A request for information is not giving someone an order. It's your legal right. Now let me get to the law. Let me get to the law here. Okay? Let me get to the law. And I sent you this. It says, this is from it's a really cheesy opinion. It's only from the Cornell Law School, an Ivy League law school. So these are real cheesy legal precedents and laws. Okay, the duty of care requires that the directors, in your case, that's you guys, because this is for general, to inform themselves prior to making a business decision, all material information reasonably available to them. Then they cite a case, Smith versus Van Goren, whether it says that whether the directors were informed of all material depends on the quality of the information, the advice available, and whether or not the directors had. And this is a quote, and this is important. have had sufficient opportunity to acquire the knowledge concerning the problem before the action. Moreover, a director may simply not accept the information presented. Rather, the director must access the information with, quote, again, a critical eye so as to protect the interests of the stockholders, who are the taxpayers. They have no right to withhold that information from you because you have a fiduciary responsibility. And then they go on for a whole bunch of other cases. But this is another one, and I'm going to send you the whole packet.
I do have that. I did read that.
The duties of a public official, which you are, may extend beyond minimal compliance with codified rules and ethics. Even if no ethics codes has been adopted or no code provision is on point, the public officials must act in a manner that comports with their common law fiduciary duty obligations. You have to do what you're doing. It is your legal obligation to do this under the Constitution, and I got case law that will break his back, because this is absolute, and as a taxpayer, this is absolute bullshit.
I agree with you. It is, and I don't like to swear, but it is, like you said, bullshit. And just to add on, and with everything you said is completely right, accurate, not disputed whatsoever. But just to add to that, and just look at what the situation is now. So with this opinion, and with this way the superintendent wants to govern and wants to engage with this role and this dialogue with the committee. So most of our discussions, like getting down to like the bread and butter of certain topics, happens in the subcommittee. That's where we discuss certain items. That's where we make recommendations. That's where we get down to like the meat and the bones. So with this opinion, and if you watch, and please, when you have a moment, please just watch the first 10 minutes of the Special Education Subcommittee meeting that took place 2 days ago. With this opinion, the superintendent will not provide any information to a subcommittee if it's requested by the chair, unless it goes through the entire full committee. Now, that just doesn't even make any sense. That's just going to delay government. That's going to delay response times to approving items, to denying items. We're not using the taxpayers' time prudently. We're not doing what's right for the students with this opinion. The superintendent needs to stop this authoritarian style of engagement with the committee. I'm, as one member, going to treat it, one, as a dereliction of duty if this continues down this route, and two, it will be remembered when it comes up for evaluation in the next couple of weeks. Because again, this is a complete roadblock. The superintendent set up a roadblock to stop committee members from requesting information. It's not the way we should cooperate. And this all started, superintendent maybe a few months ago told us she made a form to put information requests into for documents, and just to keep it all organized. She did have an issue once with the organization, because when we request information, she probably gets hundreds of emails per day. She wants it on a specific form. That's fine. She gave a form that wasn't even really user friendly, and I mentioned that to her on a few different occasions. And then all of a sudden, she said that the records request for information was just too much. And I as one member, felt blindsided by that. I've tried up to this point. I would actually say my working relationship with the superintendent has been well up until this, and it's kind of actually a surprise seeing all this take place. But again, as I said, and I think, and the reason why I wanted to come on today as well is to engage the public and let the public know what's happening, because this is very serious what's taking place. That individual members of the committee cannot request information, that subcommittee chairs cannot get the information that they need for their subcommittee meetings. And now we have to wait, as I just said, a month in advance just to request information, that's going to delay the function of government. That's going to delay the business of what we do. And there could always be a happy medium. The superintendent should be working with us. I think there's ways that we can. Immediately after this came out, I proposed a policy which creates which I believe addresses some of the issues of the not having like a portal. We worked together to create some sort of portal, a way we can organize records requests, and again have the whole committee vote on it if it's over voluminous as well. But just the way this is going, I think we all know what's going on here. I think this is just certain people don't want others requesting information about certain matters, and this is just a way to keep us silent. This is a way to keep us uninformed and to keep us from asking questions. Again, this is not transparent. This is not the way. I don't believe that the voters want this, and I don't believe this is what's best for the city. And I'm willing to explore all avenues in any way of engagement, of activism that I can to stop this. Because this is not what the students deserve. This is not what the city of Fall River deserves. This authoritarian style of government from the superintendent.
No, you're right, Colin. And
one of the things that gets me, because correct me if I'm wrong, Bruce Assad is the corporate counsel for the school committee, to the best of my knowledge, correct?
Correct.
Okay.
And I just want to add to that, CJ. We have our own corporate counsel, and we also have our own legal counsel as well to help with like litigating matters, and we can ask questions to as well. We have Michael Joyce is one of the attorneys. It's something and Joyce. So we have both corporation counsel and we have our own school committee counsel.
So why the hell would Paul Coogan decide to go to Alan Rumsey to get an opinion governing the school committee when the school committee already pays for attorneys? And I'll tell you why. Because Alan Rumsey will write him a decision, an opinion that is whatever Paul wants. Paul says what he wants, and Alan Rumsey writes it. Not that it's legal, just that it's what it is.
Listen, he cited the charter. He cited the charter, which every time it goes to court, they lose. That section of the charter is BS. It's got nothing
he didn't
to do
even
with
quote the charter right. That section of the charter, even though, as you said, requests for information aren't orders or directions. But we are allowed to give orders and directions to our superintendent. He omitted that, I don't know, purposely or otherwise, omitted that section of the charter.
Of course he did.
Well, we know that, but see, Colin, what they don't want is this is just the tip of the iceberg. You hit it on the head. They do not want people looking closely at the numbers. They don't want to give them at all. They want to be able to just do whatever they want and not be held accountable, which by our Constitution, they are accountable, and it is your job to hold them accountable as our representative. And what they're doing is basically impeding the democratic process and running this thing illegally, because how can you, if I were you, I would never, ever again vote on any issue, and I would go on record at a meeting of saying, if you will not provide me with the information and the I need to make a accurate vote on spending any kind of money or doing anything, I would be violating my fiduciary responsibility to the people who elected me, and I refuse to vote.
Right. I will say this, what I am going to do, because as we do get a packet of information when we do vote on items. If it's not enough, but sometimes it's very small items, and the information they provide it meets at least my burden of proof for voting for something. Any item, if there's ever an issue, but there's many times where I have to request additional information on the matter. If that is not made, absolutely not. It will not. If something doesn't meet my burden of standard to vote for something, I'm gonna vote no. I think I vote no the most on.
Well, that's a false head. You don't need the numbers because you're gonna vote.
Didn't he once say to someone, maybe not you, that I think I remember it when I was watching it later on. Didn't he tell somebody one time, and it may have been you, that when they requested numbers that you don't need to see the numbers? Did he not say that in a meeting?
Wouldn't
He
surprise
said
me.
you don't need to see the numbers because you're going to vote against it anyhow.
Yes.
I remember it.
Yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, right off the bat, that shows how, he has absolutely no idea what his obligation is as a fiduciary. To tell somebody else that you don't have to see the numbers because of the way you vote. The way you vote is your own personal issue. And how can you make a legitimate position to support your vote if you don't see the numbers?
Yeah, that's just an attempt to factionalize the school committee, which I don't support. I do respect all my colleagues on there. I have to say one thing on that as well. I am disappointed. I see many of my colleagues go after, not even just my colleagues. I see many individuals in general go after Mr. Aguiar for alleged lack of decorum. It baffles me because it's just not there. He's very direct. He's very direct with everyone. That's just him doing his job, but he does show the respect and decorum. You should watch some of these meetings. I get called Dr. Dias, Mr. Jumpy, every name under the book. We lose control of half of our meetings all the time. And everyone that accuses Mr. Aguiar of lacking decorum usually lacks it themselves. There's slamming, there's huffing and puffing on stage. It's ridiculous, and it just baffles me because they go after him when everything they go after him for, they're doing themselves.
They're hypocrites.
And it's fallacies. What I think it
Did
is,
it's
them trying to create a false narrative. Sorry.
Did you see the parent in a North Carolina school committee meeting that called out the school committee for what they do? Because if you haven't, you should watch it. We had it on a previous show. I can put it back now. Because I'll tell you now, it's the next meeting.
Run that, please. Colin, watch this. You're going to love this.
Let me get it up here now.
This is epic.
It is. It's amazing, personally.
You should run that for you're much more diplomatic than I. If they think Kevin would be out of order, if they had CJ and I on that committee, they would have a heart attack.
You two should run.
Okay, here's that video.
Good. God bless this mother. Watch this.
Hello, everyone. I've been coming here for 5 years now, and I was going to talk to you about some practical things that I thought you could change about 3210. But I've changed my mind. I've been really confused over the last 5 years as to why we spend 45 minutes to an hour of every public meeting talking about how great everyone is and how great everything is in the schools, and now I've figured it out. I figured it out because all these people came here to defend you all from hurtful words. This is obnoxious. Let me just say, there is one goal for the educational system. It should be to prepare children to enter careers to be productive members of society. It is not a counseling session. It is not a self-help area. It is not somewhere to find yourself, and we should not be led by the children, for goodness sake. The children are called dependents for a reason. They depend on us who have fully developed brains. You cannot feel your way through life. The issues that we are talking about, we are bringing you statistics. We are talking about scholastics. We are talking about funding. We are talking about busing. We are talking about trying to figure out how to make our children be as successful as possible. And I am sure that that is your goal. And what we have been called tonight is what they're claiming that we're saying to children. We're having an adult conversation. There are not children in this room. We aren't going into the schools and calling them names. They call us Marxists and hateful and bigots and everything else under the sun. Well, let me tell you, less than 5% of the entire population of North Carolina identifies as LGBTQ. You guys all claim you want democracy. Well, you know what democracy is? It's the majority plus one. It's 50 plus 1. You know what? More than 50% of the people in this state claim that they believe in God, Almighty God, who made us male and female, God who made marriage between a man and a woman, God who said that we must protect our children. The fact that we can stand up here and we know, we can brag about all of the wonderful graduations, but we know the statistics. 50% of children did not pass their end of grade test. What are we celebrating? We have children coming up here telling us how horrible the mental health crisis is. Why? Most of us went to public school, and all of our peers are not in mental health crises. We have to ask ourselves, what are we doing to our children? I'm going to say we are discussing things with them that they are not emotionally, intellectually, and morally able to handle. That is what is causing the anxiety. That is what is causing the depression. That is what is causing the confusion. We need our children to be able to be children, to be able to be innocent, to be able to enjoy childhood and not know all of the drama and all of the difficulties in adult life. That is what we want. We want our children to be able to read and write and to think for themselves, and we demand that the children who fear God are protected in your schools.
Yeah. You know what the best part of that one was? When she opened and said, it reminds me of the Fall River School Committee and a few people, and you know who I'm talking about, Colin, especially. Of 45 minutes of telling each other how great they are and how wonderful everything is.
No, I think, yeah, the beginning part, I think really resonated. Of course, of course, give credit when credit's due. Like, we had a lot, for example, we had a lot of donations recently. Come before us to help the students. Working with our community partners is very important, and giving credit where credit's due is very important. However, there needs to be that adversary. Actually, it was very fun. We had a conversation with the MASC on the role of the school committee and whether it should be fully cheerful, or it should be adversarial. I have the opinion it should be, for the most part, adversarial. There should be checks and balances and working to do what's best for the students. And I think when we're doing that, and again, the students and the educators and the taxpayers, I think the everyday people, not just the good old boy network, will be doing okay. But we have we have a long way to go, and I'm going to be working very hard. And if we have time, I do want to just bring up one more issue as well that goes hand in hand with this. And it's just working. I just want to talk about some of the items that I've been trying to work on individually that doesn't really get enough public attention. And
we've lost your video, Colin.
Oh,
we can hear you. We just can't see you.
Sure. So I was just quickly looking at the an agenda. So I'm the chair of the parent and community engagement subcommittee, and community engagement is very important in working with our community partners, not just the ones that we know about always, but I really want to accompany the entire city, like the everyday people of the city, into the affairs of the school department. Some things I'm working on right now is making sure our subcommittee meetings are live streamed, which is an attainable goal, which is something I hopefully will happen early next year. So everyday members of the community can watch it live on Facebook and other platforms as well, just like we do with the city council. Working to address the traffic issues within our city that doesn't get talked about enough within the schools. Trying to go pick up like your son and daughter from school, and then you're stuck in a half-hour traffic. I think the school department does have a role in that as well. And one more thing I'm trying to work on as well is, in one way or another, is the bullying. And I like to say, I'm not going to say bullying. I'm going to say youth violence, because there's a lot of things that encompasses. And we did have some sort of task force. I'm trying to really push for getting some sort of task force formed. I'm trying to have the subcommittee formed. Unfortunately, while this was all going on, my subcommittee meeting was canceled. I'm not going to say it was under suspicious circumstances, but it was a little ironic that it got canceled because it's supposed to be on the 17th. It was just canceled the other day. But they said they would move it till January, so I'll go with it. Anyway, but I'd love to tackle the youth violence issue. And that encompasses bullying, issues at home. And the superintendent doesn't believe we should be leading that charge. It should be a city leading the charge. Maybe, maybe not. I believe the school department has a big role in that. And so I'm trying to really push for, the school committee to go on board with forming some sort of task force and getting all of our community partners to the table and figuring out what are the root causes and what we could be doing differently. I'll give you one example. I just talked to some individuals this morning. The D5 policy, if you're absent 5 times and you're out, you may think on paper that looks good, but there's a lot of underlying causes as to why someone's absent. And that's something I want to push for some reform on, which I will be pushing for relatively soon at the next meetings. We need to really finish these negotiations as well. We have a lot on our plate, and I just hope that this administration wants to work with every member, not just the ones that are, politically connected or just may not always or disagrees all the time.
Yeah, those that kiss Paul's ass all the time. Because, we live in Paul River. We don't live in Paul River anymore. We live in Paul River. And I'll tell you now, when you got people like Tom Corey and Mimi Larrabee and Bailey all kissing the mayor's ass, you can't get anything accomplished. You and Kevin Aguirre are the only ones standing up for the people, standing up for the students. And Paul does not want that, because Paul existed with his hands in his pocket, walking the halls of Jersey High School, high-fiving the students, thinking that was the way to manage the school. And it's not. And that's why now he's paying back all his friends, and that's what he's doing. I mean, how can he let somebody who was working in the school department doing private business as a mechanic on the school department dime, then turn around and say, we're going to separate that department and make you a department head?
Well, as you know, and if you watched the last meeting, we took a vote to have the state auditor come down or to go into some sort of audit, because right now we only have a review of, right now the only thing that's scheduled for that department is a review of its policies. That obviously does not go far enough. We need an entire audit. We need an entire audit of many departments, but I think a good first start would be facilities and operations. And we just overspent $700,000 on playgrounds, and really the big thing, the biggest issue is that policies were not followed, and that comes from the top. That doesn't. And I'm not trying to say facilities and operations isn't to blame at all. They are. But following policy comes from the top. And the fact that this was even allowed to happen is abhorrent and needs to be addressed. It needs to be addressed very soon. But again, I'm one of 7 members. I can count. I'm realistic to that. However, I'm going to keep on advocating, and hopefully, and that's where the public comes in as well, because the public doesn't know about all these shenanigans that happen. And I think once they do, you're going to see a lot different of a response. And I think it's important because, and maybe something I haven't really done from the beginning, I should be doing more of is talking with you and talking more directly with the voters and directly with my supporters and supporters out there who don't want to see this happen and get them more.
I think you should get an ally in Channel 10's investigative department and stop feeding them the information and let them start investigating. Because that's what happened in previous administrations. They didn't like it, but they changed. Because when they've got a camera looking over their shoulder, they're not happy. And Paul isn't happy unless the press is kissing his ass. And right now, the only press kissing his ass is We Suck at Radio. And that's it.
Well, I will say this. Your talk show is the first out of many I plan on speaking with on this matter.
Good. Well, let me put it this way. You talk about adversarial. There's no, don't get trapped in that semantic debate. That's a way to deflect from the core of this problem. Okay, it's not adversarial to have a discussion. I mean, you don't have boxing gloves on. You're not in a ring. By nature, when you have a discourse, it's adversarial. Unless everybody has the same opinion. But the only way this will ever be solved is, in my opinion, because I have had a lot of issues with this city and I beat them at every turn. You have to do it from a legal standpoint. You have to make them, because of the law, give you what you need to do your job. You cannot allow them to ignore the law. Paul Coogan routinely ignores the law all the time, on the city side, on the school department side. They cannot deny you information. You cannot allow them to deny you information. You cannot allow him to be fiduciarily irresponsible and be malfeasant and run this like it's a mafia ring. Because the dialogue we will never solve a problem. They have to be, you hate to say it, but I dealt with a lot of people for a very long time and a lot of mayors. And the reality is, when you get situations like this where the mayor is intractable, the only way to do it is force them legally. We had to go to arbitration. We had to go to court. We had to do what we had to do. But in order to fix this problem, we will never fix this problem as long as Coogan gets to get legal opinions and then say, this is now the law because my lackey gave me an opinion. You have a constitutional duty. You have a fiduciary responsibility that you cannot execute because of the way this dictator is running the school department. It's that simple. It has to be done using this case law which exists, and you have to figure out a way to make him, just as he did when he sent that letter that circumvented the law in collective bargaining, when he tried to get the city council to vote against an arbitrator's award, and then the corporation council had to admit it was illegal, and we're sorry. You can't, this is the problem in this city. We've had a guy in office for 3 terms who has never been transparent, always hid everything, and is getting more and more blatant with that manner of dictatorial government every single day. And you're very diplomatic, Colin. I congratulate you on being such a diplomat, because I'll tell you what, I would be even more frustrated than Kevin if I was in those seats.
No, I have to say, just because I thank you for that. I think that was a compliment, but I am very upset. And that's the reason why I wanted to come on today. This isn't a good thing what's taking place here, and you're going to hear about it more, because this shouldn't exist. This shouldn't even be a thing, and I believe, like you said, the school committee leadership does play a role in this. However, it's also the superintendent. This is the superintendent is mandate. The decision of the superintendent, in her collaboration with the committee. If this is the way the superintendent wishes to collaborate, it's not going to be good for the students and the taxpayers of the city. Stonewalling inquiries, stonewalling information to once every single month, because you don't want to have questions answered. This will stop. I don't believe the city of Fall River will stand for it if they know. And just one final piece, and what I'm hoping to get out of this as well is we need to be more. I believe we used to be more unified as an opposition to some of the shenanigans that take place in the city, and I think we need to really get back into that. We need to all come together as one united voice and stand up and advocate. And I think if we all can I think the numbers are there. We're just not together. And I'm hoping to get that together very soon. Some sort of formidable opposition advocacy to some of the issues that happen within the city. and the school department mostly because that's my role.
Well, I want to thank you for your advocacy for the people of Fall River. You're doing a great job, and like you said, this has got to be. It's a fight that has to go until we look. We're all adults here. You give it your best shot, and you accept a win or a loss because the majority rules. You can't allow a dictator to completely block the process so nobody can get any information. And the people, I think when you bring this and it gets more exposure, the people are going to be as infuriated as they've been about a lot of other issues, because we can't have a government that's run basically behind the Iron Curtain. That's
No,
just
definitely
reality.
not. Definitely not. And I'll tell you now, that bullshit about you going through the same process that an average citizen has to go through just gives him the 10 business days, which is 2 weeks, that he needs or she needs to cover up the stuff they don't want you to know.
I've gone through the FOIA request as well, CJ, as a citizen, and they just use that to delay.
Yeah.
Use every exemption under the book. But school committee members have the right to certain items that aren't subject to the public records law, and that's the fact that they would charge us. They would charge us to get information.
I know.
It's asinine. It's ridiculous, and again, as I said, there's many different avenues to address this issue. Again, I don't recognize this philosophy, this doctrine of individual school committee members can't request information. I don't recognize it. I won't, and I will never recognize it. And again, I will recognize it as a dereliction of duty on the superintendent's part, and I also recognize it when we come to evaluations. And we'll see what happens.
Well, I'm going to tell you right now, Colin, about evaluation. If she's overwhelmed, CJ and I get hundreds of emails every day too. So if she's overwhelmed, she's got, I don't know how many assistant superintendents. It's her job to provide that information. If she can't do it, maybe she shouldn't be the superintendent. The reality is, listen, I was on a fire department. I was in charge of fires. I didn't get to a major fire and say, hey, listen, this fire is too big. I don't want to handle this. It's overwhelming me. If I can't do that, I can't be there, because that's my job. And the thing is that this is not a viable reason to say that it's too much for me. Because especially when that's your job, her job is that she's got assistant superintendents, principals, vice principals. She's got a whole cadre of subordinates. And the first thing a supervisor learns is how to delegate authority. Her sole purpose is to oversee and make your job and give you the information you need and the people the information they need, and her people enough to do the job. So, I mean, what she said, what her excuse is that she's overwhelmed is bullshit. I mean, I'm not accepting
I agree,
that.
Chip, and if I'm being honest, it's really not that much information we're asking for. Maybe more than the average, but I think if I'm being frank right now, I think this is politically motivated. I think this is just more of they just don't want information to get brought to light, or us to ask too many questions. That's what I really think the bottom line.
I agree. I agree with you.
And
I agree with you totally.
And just the fact, if a subcommittee chair, so now if you have a subcommittee meeting, and I really want to, because this is also very important. So you have a subcommittee meeting and you request information. The superintendent now wants you to go before the entire committee within a month from now. And that delays the process of depending on the will of the subcommittee, that could delay, you may have to table a matter, delay items to another time. And and also another thing too I don't understand with this. are they going to check? We do get documents every single month, so it's from the superintendent, from the administration. So are we only going to get the ones that information they want to provide us, or is it really okay? This information we believe is pertinent. The rest you have to vote on it as a full committee. That's just ridiculous, and it's a shame. The superintendent again needs to stop this authoritarian style of governing. And
I agree. Well, Collin, I appreciate you coming on the show. You have an open invitation. Anytime you want to come on, please just get a hold of
I will utilize that.
And we'll always let you on the show. I want to thank all our viewers for watching, our people who have had some comments that we have posted on the show. And remember, stay safe, stay angry, and hold your politicians accountable. We want to thank you for being here today, and we'll see you on Monday. Have a great day.
Have a great weekend, everyone.